Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy, coming to you with a vlog this week to talk to you about general maintenance tips as well as tips for before you go camping, and basically what you should be doing on a monthly basis with your RV, whether that be a pop-up, hybrid, truck camper, travel trailer, fifth wheel, or motorhome. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the hybrids, the pop-ups, truck campers, travel trailers, as well as the fifth wheels first. So what you want to be doing, first of all, one of the biggest things you want to do is make sure that your 7-way plug, or if you have a 4-way plug, whatever it is for your RV, make sure that you keep that covered when not in use. You do not want that to be getting corroded and getting, having all kinds of issues. So keep that nice and covered. Or you can even, if you have something that has an LP cover, you can even kind of stuff it up underneath there and keep it out of the weather. Kind of a nice way to kind of keep it covered. Next thing what you want to do is, of course, wash and clean your units on a regular basis. And I would say clean it monthly to ensure that you're able to inspect things. Although from a owner's manual responsibility, you will notice that it tells you to be inspecting the sealants on a quarterly basis. But again, if you're most people are going to want to keep their unit clean, and if you can do it on a monthly basis, trust me, you'll be happier for a longer period of time. So do that. Now, for your hybrids and also for your pop-ups, you're going to want to wash and clean the tenting material as well. If you have sunbrella fabric, that would be a Fleetwood like Coleman type. They have the sunbrella fabric on their pop-ups. You can also use 1 cap of Woolite per gallon of water, and that will clean it quite nicely. With your pop-ups and hybrids, in the event that you need to put those away when it is wet, if it's raining, and that's okay, you can do that. What you want to do is ensure that when you get home that you open those up, let them dry before you're putting them away. That will keep the mold and mildew from having issues of those. Also, refer to your owner's manuals for these and see what kind of maintenance schedule you should be doing. And by all means, then set up a maintenance schedule so you have something to refer to. So I'm just kind of giving you some general tips, just overall general tips. If you have air conditioner in your unit, you want to be checking and cleaning the AC filters, and that's on the inside of your camper. And if you're not sure where that is, by all means, check out my channel. I'll actually be covering that in one of my videos here in the next several weeks. Or you could always call your RV service center and they can instruct you on where that is. Typically, if you might have them on the 2 sides of your air conditioner, or it might just be on the back side or the front side, depending on the air conditioner put in, and just have 1 filter. So some have 2, some have 1. Some of you also might have it if you have a higher end fifth wheel, you might have something where one side of the camper is blowing the cold air in your camper, the other side is your filters that's returning the warm air, and that's where your filters will be in all of those vents. So keep that in mind as well. So that would be in either of those. Another thing is, if you don't want to be cleaning your roof on a monthly basis, at least be cleaning it on a quarterly basis. Doesn't matter whether you have a rubber roof, doesn't matter whether you have a TPO roof or a fiberglass roof. Do that on a quarterly basis, because that ensures if you get up there and clean it, it's very simple for you to do an inspection of the roof and check the sealants and see if they're cracking, peeling, or bubbling, and reseal as needed. For information on how that works, check out my vlog. I actually did it a few weeks ago on how to check and see what sealants might need to be looking like when they need to be cleaned and resealed. So check that out. Another thing is, check your LP tanks. Make sure that they're actually working. All you got to do is turn it on. If you're not sure how much LP is in your tank, what you can do is you can dump hot water on the tank, and you'll get it, because LP is cold, you'll get a little frost line on the tank itself. If you have automatic switchover, meaning you have 2 tanks on the front and you have a little lever that goes side to side. That means you have automatic switchovers. If you don't understand how that works, check out my videos on that. Matter of fact, I will put the links for that down below, so you won't have to go searching for these. So if you check down below, I'll have the links for everything I am discussing, my vlogs and so forth, to help you see what you're supposed to be doing. But you can also manually check to see if that LP tank is actually working. And what you do is you just go on in, turn on light one of your stove tops. That'll let you know whether or not it is working. Now, so that would be the general maintenance tip. Now, prior to each trip, what you'd want to do is check, make sure all your lights are working, all your running lights, interior lights, all that stuff. Make sure your brake lights are working, very important. Check the, you want to check your tires, tire pressure, check the lug nuts, make sure they're torqued properly, check your fire extinguisher. And recently there was, in the last few months, there was a recall on fire extinguishers. So if you have an RV that's a pre-owned RV and you've had it for quite some time, call an RV service center and ask them about the recall that was on the fire extinguisher to see whether or not you have something that is that will work or won't work. Check all your hitch components. Make sure that they're free of rust. Make sure that they're in good working order. Not only on your camper, but also check on your vehicle as well. Battery voltage. Check that on a regular basis. If you don't want to check your battery voltage, you can always go in your camper. If you don't want to get a voltmeter to actually check you can always go in, make sure that you've had it plugged in for a while to make sure it's fully charged, and you can check. Most of the campers have a sensor on the inside where you can check levels to see whether or not the battery's fully charged. Make sure you're unplugged when you check that. Otherwise, if you're plugged in, that's an erroneous reading. But also on a monthly basis, check the fluid level in the batteries and refill it with distilled water if necessary. Also on a monthly basis, check your GFI receptacles. And what you do is make sure you trip them. They actually have a little gadget that you can get at Home Depot. They're only a few dollars, where you actually plug it in, you push a button and it trips it to make sure that it's working. And that's a great way to check those. And of course, as I had mentioned earlier, wash your unit on a monthly basis. So that covers pop-ups, that covers hybrids, truck campers, travel trailers, and fifth wheels. Now let's get on to what you should be checking on motorhomes. Okay, so with motorhomes, you have a little bit more entailed because now you have a motor, and a lot of times you're going to have a generator as well. So what you want to be doing is, if you have a gas engine motorhome, recommendation is to change the oil and oil filter every 3,000 miles or once a year. If it's a diesel, now depending on your diesel, it could be a whole different ball game. Could be 5,000 miles, could be 10,000 miles, or once a year. Some even may be higher, but check your owner's manuals for your specific coach. Sometimes with your diesel motorhomes, you're just emptying the oil and actually not changing the oil filter every time. So, but again, refer to your owner's manual for your specific case. But with gasoline engines, recommendation once a year or every 3,000 miles for both the oil and your oil filter. When we're talking about generators, if you have a brand new generator, you should be changing the oil after the first 50 hours and then 100 hours thereafter, or once a year. And again, that's the oil and oil filter. Again, I typically tell my customers, unless they're using their generator for a real lot, I just tell them change the generator oil at the same time they change your engine oil. And if you're using it on a regular basis, you may have to change it more often. Four-wheel alignment on your motorhome. Now, if you just bought a brand new motorhome and they didn't tell you, it is on your owner's manual, but you should, once you get your motorhome loaded with the stuff that you're going to be carrying, make sure it's full of your cargo. Fill a fresh water tank as well, because most of the time you're going to be driving with a full water tank, or at least some water. And you want to take and have your motorhome have a four-wheel alignment done on it. And make sure they'll check the air pressure on that as well. Check and carry extra fuses for you. I mean, you can do that in your travel trailers and fifth wheels as well, pop-ups. That's always a good thing. Repack your front wheel bearings every 3 years on a motorhome. Diesel fuel filter. You want to be changing that every second oil change. So, you know, it could be every second oil change. That could be every 2 years. Of course, it could be, depending on how much you're driving, it could be more than that. Transmission fluid on diesel pushers should be changed at the first 12,000 miles and then every 25,000 miles after that. So just remember that as well. And again, refer to your owner's manuals because yours might be a little bit different. Just again, these are general maintenance tips that I'm trying to give you. And one thing I don't want to do is I am not superseding any of your owner's manuals. If your owner's manual is telling you to do it another way, by all means, do that. If I'm telling you to do it more often, well, it's not going to hurt it. But if I'm exceeding the timelines, then obviously you're going to want to do those other timelines. If you have a rubber roof, TPO, or fiberglass roof, again, you want to be cleaning those roofs on a quarterly basis, checking and resealing as needed, as I had mentioned earlier in the travel trailers and so forth. Flush and clean your tanks on a regular basis, just like I had mentioned. Matter of fact, I probably didn't mention that, but if what you want to do is on your tanks, you want to go ahead and be cleaning your tanks out and after every trip. And my recommendation is for your black tank is fill it with a little bit of water, put some chemical in it when you're done camping, and now it's ready for the next camp trip. But as you drive or as you're towing your vehicle, it's going to slosh around there and keep your tanks clean. Water separator on your diesels. You want to go ahead and be checking those each time you stop for a fuel fill. You know, you want to check it. If you're not doing that, at least be checking it on a monthly basis and make sure you're getting that water out of your system. That's why it is there. Set up a schedule. So, you know, write these things down, set up a schedule to make it easier and as a reminder for you. Now, before each trip, what do you want to be checking? Check your coolant, check your batteries, check your, if you have airbags on diesels, check those, make sure that they're airing up properly. Checking all your, LP leak detector, smoke detector, fire extinguisher, checking all that. Also, make sure that your seat belts are functional. Check all the levels for your brake fluid, for your power steering fluid, so forth, transmission fluid, windshield wiper, oil. Check all that prior to each trip. Check your LP bottle. Make sure that it's working properly. To do that, again, what you're going to want to do is just go inside, make sure it's turned on. And of course, in a motorhomes, you typically have two different ways of checking the levels of your LP. One, it's going to be on the tank itself. Two, it will be on something on the inside where you'll be able to check that for the most part. Now, I know there are some newer motorhomes that are putting the tanks just like a travel trailer in those. So those you'd have to dump water on them or put some type of gauge on those to see what the level of LP would be in those. Also, check your front oil bearings if you have a larger diesel pusher. And if you don't understand how to do it, like I say, there are ways of looking up that on YouTube. They can show you that. Or if you're not very mechanically inclined, obviously have that checked by a mechanic. Check and clean your water pump filter. Now, I recommend you do that every year anyway. So you really don't need to do that if you're using an inline water filter or if you have a whole house water. Well, actually, let me back up, because if you have a whole house water filter, that typically isn't going to work if you're taking water out of your freshwater tank. So if you're putting, check out your system and see how that's set up. Because if you're filling your freshwater tank from a fill on the side that's going straight into the tank, make sure you use an inline water filter. That'll make sure that that gets clean. Check your battery voltage and check the fluid levels in the batteries. So hopefully that's helped you kind of get ahead of the game, because the more you do with what I'm talking about here, the happier you're going to be throughout the year. You're going to have less issues and be able to enjoy more trips. So I appreciate you watching. If there's something in particular you'd like me to cover, by all means, reach out to me. Be more than happy to try and do something. If in fact you have a camping group
and you'd like to have somebody come speak at your camping group, reach out to me and let's see what we can work out. But I appreciate you watching. Love the thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you're liking what I'm doing, and enjoy the comments. Thanks, and I'll be back at you again next